Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm Emily Johnson, Certified Financial Planner and Managing Director of Polaris Capital Advisors. I'm joined today by Todd Harlow of Work Plan Retire, which is a retirement plan specialty organization. And Todd's an old friend of mine, and we sort of share a worldview when it comes to financial planning. And we thought that it would be a good idea to change things up a little bit and talk specifically about income in retirement and sort of, our specific thoughts on how you get there. Sure. And, Todd's very good at structuring all of these things, so we wanted to sort of nail a couple of these points for you in this segment. So where would you like to begin?
Well, last time we were talking is that income today is a process. I think historically it's been viewed as a product, maybe an annuity,
right,
a bond, like a CD, where people can relate to that,
yeah,
right? Interest rates are down, no news flash there,
right,
relative to what people are experiencing.
And they don't seem to be going up anytime soon, even though we keep thinking they will.
I know.
It ain't happening.
Is a good thing in a way. But I do think, the days of being able to walk down to the local bank and get a 5 or 6% triple or right, FDIC insured investment are pretty much gone. So I think the era of embracing income as a process is here.
Okay.
We've talked about this. And I think, you deal with people every day, what I'll call in transition, right? They are coming to you needing this type of advice, whether they're in retirement, maybe coming off a divorce, and realistically they're needing to turn a big pool of money into some sort of income-oriented investment.
Right.
So, we've talked about this. Describe, you mentioned it was a process. I wholeheartedly agree. Give us some of the points that kind of walk us through the process and the benefits.
Okay, so a standard case scenario would be client comes to my office seeking to retire in a couple of years. And I have this conversation, I had it earlier today, we have it multiple times a week. So clients seeking to retire, maybe they already did, maybe they're looking to in a couple of years. Either way, the first thing that we look at is, of course they come with their statements in hand and they say, we've been investing in these mutual funds, we don't know if we've been doing it right, whatever, and we basically take that completely off the table. And the first thing that we talk about is what is going to be the structure of their investments and the timing of their retirement. Because unfortunately, my crystal ball is perpetually broken. So when they say to me, I want to retire in 2 years, what's the market going to look like? No idea.
Huge point.
I wish I knew. That would make my job a whole lot easier, but unfortunately we don't, and that's one of the things that we plan for. We plan for the unknown. I also don't know if that client is still going to be in good health in 2 years. I mean, there's lots and lots of, it's a dynamic process when it comes to planning. So number one is timing. We don't know when it comes to market timing. So because of that, you have to have an adequate structure when it comes to your retirement. I know in previous shows I've shown the bucket theory, where you have a certain amount of funds that are short-term funds, a certain amount that are medium-term, and a certain amount that are long-term. And to sort of simplify when it comes to structure, because we only have so many minutes in this show, one of the things that you really need to think about is how are you going to withstand those difficult markets? And if we had a chart, showing the ups and downs in the market, you would see that certainly if you retired in 2008, just before the debacle that we had, then your timing would look a lot different than it would if you had retired back in 2002. So how do you withstand something like that? One way to do it, of course, is to structure your investments so that you have a certain amount of cash cushion so that you can use that cash for your retirement while you let the market do what it's going to do. The conversation I had earlier today, the client she's looking to retire actually in her 50s, so we're looking at a 40-year retirement. So in that case, we need to make sure that money can withstand the ups and downs. And she actually said to me, I can't see my money go down. And I said, there will be a time that you're going to have to. And over the next 40 years, God willing, if that's if you're retiring in a few years, you will see the market go down. We'll do our darndest to try to make sure that we, have everything structured in a way that it doesn't go down as much as the market does. However, there's a lot of unknowns. So in order to still benefit from the market, from the ups in the market, you have to have that structure in place so that you can actually withstand it, and that would be with a cash cushion. Does that answer part of your question?
No, it does. And the general
I know I'm talking fast.
No, the general theme of structure matters, I completely agree with, and if I could jump in and paraphrase some of the conversations we've had. This is never having to sell your growth-oriented investments into weakness, right? Which is, to not use too many buzzwords here, but dollar cost averaging is most simply the concept.
You've heard that in your 401k for years.
That's right. That's going to buy down to Harris Teeter and buying tuna fish on sale. You get it. It's the same commodity product. It's on sale. You can buy more with your dollar, right, or a few dollars. It works in reverse in retirement, which has often been referred to one of my mentors, Jack Gardner, thank you, Jack, as dollar cost ravaging in retirement.
Very nice.
When you have to
Again,
sell.
When you bullet points at the bottom.
But it's a great point, and investors do not get it in retirement when you
they
have
call
to.
It fear.
Or like she said, I can't see it go down. She doesn't want to have to sell her principal into weakness. And that's your structure protects against
Right.
that. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And most people don't get it. Again, how new this structure or process, income being a process, is so new. People are used to taking their nest egg and dumping it into truly risk-free investments like bonds and not having to worry about
And
it.
we can't do that today.
Those days are gone.
And that is the hardest thing to try to explain to people that are looking to retire, because that's exactly what they've been trained to believe, is that by the if I save my money diligently, I have $1 million in the bank, I should be able to live off of my $50,000 and my 5%. You can't make that guarantee. So that kind of gets us into our next point, which is looking at what our spending is going to be in retirement. And this is, and I'm sorry, Mom, for saying this, but my favorite conversation is with my parents when we look at their financial plan, and my dad says, how much money can I have in retirement? And I say, well, how much do you want to spend? And he says, I don't want to talk to your mother about this, which I totally get. So I wouldn't want to talk to my mother about it either. But that point is, there has to be a certain amount that you're expecting to spend in retirement. And I'll have people come in my office and say, I expect that I'm going to take 4%, or I'm going to take $50,000 a year. When in reality, what's going to happen is life. And it might be that they have extra spending in certain years, and it might be that they are able to save in certain years. It might be that the market is doing phenomenally well. It might be that inflation is through the roof. If
I could jump in a minute,
Please,
and you as a planner, you get this every day. And I really do believe the implication of financial planning, good, bad, or indifferent, is it's kind of a one-time thing.
Right,
it couldn't be further from the truth, right? Life, you said it best. Life gets in the way, or you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right?
I love that.
Same thing here, and it could be things beyond your control. Forget your health, market conditions, we can go into all of it. You're so right, and the ability to plan to audible is just absolutely critical. Yeah.
So that's been called the endowment philosophy, the endowment
spending policy.
The endowment spending. So think Harvard, of course. You hear about some of the biggest endowments in the world. They have a certain spending policy that is not just $50,000 a year, or just 4% a year. They actually let that spending policy ebb and flow with their returns, with market returns, with inflation, with their needs, with what happened last year, et cetera. There's a few. It's not complicated, I guess, is one point that I'd like to drive home.
The only
it's doable.
Perceived negative to it. Well, first of all, the fact that Harvard's doing it, probably pretty good credibility check mark. But it's the people, and even when you do your own financial plans, God forbid you're not using somebody like Emily, but if they ask you, what do you think you're going to need to spend? It doesn't give you 7 variables, it's 1.
Right.
So you think it's a fixed number,
right.
It's deemed the easy button. It's really not if you're working with a quality specialist and understand that it should be an annual conversation. It really should be the basis of your annual conversation instead of getting into the weeds with every investment, right? And it's really with your best clients, right? That's like the big reveal of your annual meetings is what's my check going to look like this year?
Right, and then the big reveal from them might be, but I also have this going on, and I say, okay, so how are we going to handle that?
And you have to know that, and you need to know that.
So the endowment spending policy is definitely a big part of that structure, and then lastly, making sure that you actually review this type of a plan on an annual basis. I mean, it's kind of like getting your annual checkup. So not just is it the big reveal of how much should I spend this year and how much, what were my returns last year, but making sure that you're really diligent about doing that. What else would you like to add to that?
Well, the other aspect, remember, is dividends.
Right.
I think is
exactly.
It's not that we're not talking
market.
Product here, but I do think the concept of let's call it a 70-year-old or somebody in retirement. Owning, it's not that out of line for someone to maybe have 70-80% equities now if the income is the focus.
Not at all.
Because of inflationary fears, a lot of things. So I think
we talk about that on the show.
Yeah, the concept of embracing dividends as an income source almost exclusively versus fixed income is, I think, kind of the fourth element of the longevity of income.
And there's lots of different ways to achieve that. I mean, we really tried to stress process in this conversation as opposed to product. There's not one right way to skin the cat when it comes to that, but there are, there's definitely ways that are more efficient and lower cost or whatever to help you achieve that goal in a more efficient way. So, but definitely embracing dividends, growing dividends is, that was the way it was. It has been that way even back when interest rates were significant, but we're not blessed with that right now.
No, it's a good point. It was just too easy to go for something that was effectively guaranteed.
Right.
But keep in mind, while that was great, the one thing that wasn't even on the table then, it's a fixed rate of interest. That's the way bonds work.
Right.
And the fact of embracing the process of dividends, there's a likelihood, and history shows, that your income can go up, which is always appealing.
Definitely, definitely. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we've been hopefully informative on this topic. Lots and lots more that we can dig into, and we will in future shows. So thank you so much, Todd, for joining us, and we'll be back again soon.
You got it. Thanks.